You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Everybody, welcome in. It's episode number 62 of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com, your home for all things minor league baseball. I am Tyler Mon in Denver, Colorado. In New York City is Sam Dykstra. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Tyler. Happy draft day to everybody listening to us on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and draft weekend and draft week, depending on when you're listening to us. But yeah, big week here in pro baseball, and especially for us in the minors. Big
things popping. Sam is actually headed. We're recording on Wednesday as we do weekly now, and Sam is headed to the draft tomorrow in Secaucus, New Jersey. What do you do? Take the PATH train?
There's a PATH train. I think there's a bus. There might be a boat at some point. I don't know. It's going to require several Google Mapsing to get there, but I will get there, and I'll have all the reports for us on the site as it happens. And there's also a luncheon tomorrow too, that I'm hoping to talk to a couple of guys who are going to be there, who are in town for the draft. I know one is Ian Anderson, who is confirmed going to be there, and I think at least one other draftee will be there tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to be in the room for the first time.
It's going to be that'll be really, really cool for you. I'm really excited for you. And we are going to today talk about the draft a bit. We're not going to give you a ton of information about the draft because by the time you are listening to this, the first round could well be in the book. The first many rounds could well be in the book. So we're not going to go too in-depth in talking about the draft. Obviously, next week we'll do some breakdown and some look back on how things went, especially at the top end of the draft. But yeah, that's kind of that is our point for today, shall we say.
Yeah, no, definitely. We don't want to tell you who the Phillies might take at 1, who the Reds could take at 2, and who the Braves could take at 3, because by the time you heard this, you would have better information for us than we would have for you. So this will be more about what players, we're looking at, who can make a real positive impact on some organizations, and what to expect from those guys if you hear their names called.
So get pumped. The first 10 picks, by the way, in order are Philadelphia Phillies, the Cincinnati Reds, the Atlanta Braves, the Colorado Rockies, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Oakland Athletics, the Miami Marlins, San Diego Padres, Detroit Tigers, and Chicago White Sox. So there you have it. You can head to MLB Pipeline. You can check out some of the mock drafts, some of the theories, all that kind of stuff if you're listening to this prior to the first round. But let's get started with other things. Guys who have formerly been through the draft, who are headed up to the major leagues for the first time as we open up 3 strikes for episode number 62 of the Show Before the Show podcast. One of them already there, one of them arriving. Albert Almora today, first major league hit, first major league RBI, first major league assist from the outfield. Jameson Taillon up in the big leagues as well. Almora with the Cubs, Taillon with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Really strong starts to the season for both. Sam, give me some of your initial reaction and your thoughts on those two guys finally making it to the show.
Yeah, so it's fun to see Almora get called up. He joined the show back in April, so it was fun to go back to that and listen to it. And I know we talked to him a little bit about what it's like to be part of the Cubs outfield now with Jason Hayward there and Dexter Fowler back, and obviously Fowler off to a very, very good start. So it'll be cool for Almora to play a little bit in that outfield. I know Joe Madden said yesterday that he's not exactly going to be an everyday player right now. They want to get Tommy La Stella some extra at-bats, which means potentially moving Chris Bryant out to left field. But there is every chance that Almora could get some at-bats here and there. Some time as a defensive replacement. We certainly know he's good enough in the outfield. I think Bryant called him the best center fielder he's ever seen, which is high praise. And I think a little bit maybe inflated just because he's his teammate. There's some really, really good outfielders out there, obviously. But Almora is certainly a good one, and he showed it off with his arm. Nailing, I think, Odubel Herrera at home today from left field. So that'll be fun to see him out there while Jorge Soler hits the DL with a left hamstring strain. But Taillon, I think, is the more interesting call-up. Obviously, we We know a little bit of his backstory. We talked a lot about it both here on the show. We've written a lot about it on the site. Missed the last 2 seasons due to Tommy John and hernia surgery. It's been a long road back just to AAA for Tyone, and now he's getting that call to the majors. He's put up some stellar numbers this year at Indianapolis, 2.04 ERA, 8.9 strikeout per 9, just a 0.9 walk per 9. And with that in mind, he leads all of AAA baseball with that 0.9 walks per 9. But I'm going to list off some other things that he leads all of AAA in. His 1.93 FIP, best in AAA. His 10.2 strikeout per walk ratio, best in AAA. His 0.81 WHIP, best in AAA. So this is a guy who is definitely ready for the call. I was a little disappointed yesterday when Neil Huntington gave, I don't know if it was a press conference or if he was just talking to an individual journalist, but he said he wishes Tyone could have been kept down a little longer. I don't think that's the message you exactly want to send a guy coming up for his major league debut. That, hey, we're not sure if you're entirely ready, but go get him. That's disappointed me a little bit, but I think Tyone certainly has proven that he has stellar control now. All the reports on his stuff is that it's right there. He's even said he's been way ahead of where he thought he'd be results-wise. And now tonight, Wednesday when we're recording this, he's going to have every chance to prove it. And if he comes out with a really strong start, shows the stuff that he had in Indianapolis, I would hope that he has a chance to stick for a while.
It's really exciting in Tyone's case because you always root for a guy who overcomes injury. And Tommy John is one thing, but then losing all of last season, we heard so much from him, especially in the spring, about how he was, I think, kind of sick of waiting to get back, waiting to be back on a mound, waiting to be back in games. And so the way he started this year is so much better than best case scenario. That's really exciting. And for Albert Almora, the thing that I really like about Albert Almora is when we talked to him a few weeks ago on the podcast, you just got the feel that this is a guy who doesn't want to do anything other than play baseball. And, drafted, breaks into pro ball after being the 6th overall pick in 2012. He's been there for kind of the genesis of this youth movement with the Cubs, and he's made that climb since he was 18. He's still only 22 years old. Last season, really, really good year with AA Tennessee. Broke into AA at the age of 20 in 2014. It's just been such a steady climb from him. And he seems like the type of guy who is so selfless with the way that he plays baseball, talks up his teammates, plays for USA Baseball every chance he gets, wants to be a part of that program that they're building in Chicago of just a continual, it seems like, production line of talented young, especially position player talent. And Albert Almora, maybe more defensively than what he does with the bat, is the next in line among those guys in the Cubs system. So really exciting for him too. But a couple of guys who are really going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Jameson Tyone, like I said, cheering for guys coming off of injury is so easy. Cheering for guys who lost 2 years because of injury is even more so. So congratulations to both of those guys. And for Albert Almora today, first hit, first RBI, first outfield assist, all kinds of cool stuff. We always like to see when, show before the show guys end up making it big, get the bump.
We get to be minor league hipsters in that way and say we knew them when, before
exactly
school, all that kind of stuff.
I liked Albert's original stuff. I liked all of his old stuff, man.
And you can listen to his original stuff on our podcast.
You can. Go back and
download that episode as well as this episode.
To that edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, which was, as Sam noted, back in April. That was episode number 56, which dropped on April 28th. Strike 2 this week, Sam. We're nearing All-Star game time already around the minor leagues, and a whole host of leagues have already dropped their All-Star rosters. We'll be talking with one coming up here in just a little bit, which gives us a chance to tease that for you. Phil Bickford, the number 3 prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization, named the South Atlantic League South Division All-Star team. Phil Bickford will be joining the show in just a little bit. But, Sam, what is the All-Star roster that excites you most so far?
Yeah, so amongst the ones that we've kind of named, or we haven't named, the individual leagues have named them. They all have their own ways of doing it. So when we write up these stories, don't be tweeting at us saying, why isn't this person an all-star? Well, we didn't pick them. It's normally the field managers or local media, that kind of thing. We just report what's given to us. But the team that kind of really stuck out to me today was the Southern League South Division roster.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of run down some of the names that appear here. Dansby Swanson, friend of the pod, been on here before his trade from the D-backs to the Braves. He's a Southern League All-Star after, I think, only 32 games in Mississippi. Obviously, that shows just how much impact he's having with that Mississippi team. And I want to note that the Southern League All-Star game this year is in Pearl, Mississippi, so he'll be playing in front of home fans. So you got Dansby Swanson, Brett Phillips, Jacob Nottingham, who's also been on the podcast before. Brett Phillips also been on the podcast before. Those two guys playing with Biloxi Shuckers. Josh Hader, who is arguably had the best numbers in all of minor league baseball in terms of pitching this year. He'll be representing Biloxi. From that same side, Amir Garrett is going to be there for the Pensacola Wahoos. It's just been one of those. It's one of those rosters that you would love to see in a Arizona Fall League team, and now it's all together on one division roster. So it's really cool to see that in the Southern League All-Star game coming up later this month.
That would be the one that I would pick as well. Another one that I think is really exciting, the South Atlantic League, a couple of teenagers who are on that roster and top 100 prospects. Victor Robles of the Washington Nationals organization, a member of the Hagerstown Suns. He is on that club. Brendan Rodgers, the Rockies' top prospect and the third overall pick in last season's draft. And, as we noted, Phil Bickford, some of the names who are going to be on those rosters for the South Atlantic League All-Star Game, which is coming up on June 21st at the home of the Lexington Legends in Lexington, Kentucky. So that's really exciting. And, oh, by the way, you can go to MILB.com right now and help vote in the All-Stars for the 2016 AAA All-Star Game, which is always something that we have a ton of fun with, and we know a lot of people enjoy voting in as well. That is one of the cool things in the minor leagues, is that you get to help honor the guys who will shine from the highest level of the minors every season.
Yeah, and voting is ongoing, as you said, for that. So get your votes in now. Like I said, with the other stuff, that was all named by field managers, local media, that kind of thing. This is your chance to have your vote. So do get those votes in as much as possible. If you live near a AAA team, there's one guy that you really like the way he plays. You'd like to see him honored for that. Now is your chance to do that.
Do your civic duty, as we noted last week. Do your civic duty. I actually got it out cleanly this week. And go vote at MILB.com. You can vote for 2016 AAA All-Stars, in which the International League and the Pacific Coast League will do battle coming up here in just a couple of short weeks now, which is so crazy that we're already at the point of the season. That's coming up July 13th, so just barely over a month away in Charlotte, North Carolina. But it's so crazy we're already to that point of the year where we're talking about All-Star games.
Yeah, all these All-Star rosters are coming in fast and furious this week. I know we've also had the California League All-Star roster, Carolina League All-Star roster, and Midwest League All-Star rosters coming in. So there are going to be a couple more coming down the line. I think Eastern and Texas are the only ones yet to be named that aren't necessarily aren't obviously AAA balloting. So look out for those as well.
And those ones are coming up a little bit later as well. Southern League is June 21st, so that one is out now. Texas League is June 28th. Eastern League is later. That is on July 13th. So be on the lookout for those coming up soon as well. Strike three, Sam. Headed back to the draft. Like we noted a little bit earlier on in the show, coming up this weekend, starting Thursday night, stretching through Saturday, the Major League Baseball first-year player draft. Some of the names to watch. There are mock drafts up, as we noted, at MLB.com right now, MLB Pipeline. The guys there do such a tremendous job getting you ready and also kind of showing you just how difficult it is to nail this down. Jim Callis, his most recent one is from just a few days ago, in which the first four selections in his first round matched the same that he did 2 weeks prior, but he kind of stressed how that's so fluid, and that's what's so interesting about the MLB draft. There's nothing guaranteed. You draft somebody in the first round of the NFL, that person's going to start for you on Sundays 6 months later, more likely than not. In Major League Baseball, it's such a different process to pick somebody knowing that you're more than likely not going to see them for a couple years at the earliest in their transition from high school or college to the major leagues. But Sam, give me some of the names that you're keeping an eye on this week, obviously, as you'll be there tomorrow night for the first round.
Yeah, and you mentioned, just trying to project these guys out, but there's also some calculus involved in terms of draft pools. Each pick has its own allotted slot value, and then you add up all the first 10 rounds, and that's your pool. And sometimes some of these organizations are maybe going to pick a player because they know he'll be cheaper, and they can save that extra money that they bank signing him for a later guy who, maybe has a strong commitment to college and will need a little extra enticing. So there's a lot that goes into it other than just who is the best player available, or, we need a second baseman, let's go get a second baseman. It doesn't work that easily in the Major League Baseball draft. That said, reading a lot of mocks, doing some reading on this process, it seems like AJ Puck is a pretty good bet, not necessarily a lock by any means, but he seems like a guy who could certainly go to the Phillies at number 1.
Left-hander out of the University of Florida.
Right, exactly. I know he had a rough start against Connecticut last time out, but he's a 6'7" left-hander, just a guy you can dream on. He's got a really good fastball, can hit the high 90s, a slider that, we talked about Josh Hader before in the Southern League. It seems like he has that kind of wipeout slider that we talk about with Hader. And, there's just so much more to dream on with a guy coming out of college like that. So I think the Phillies would love to have somebody like that in their organization. It seems like he's a good bet to it. If he's not going 1, to go 2 or 3 to the Reds or Braves. But what I'm going to be paying attention to is how this kind of works out with some college outfielders. Corey Ray seems like he is almost – I called him in the story I wrote today on the site, this year's version of Andrew Benintendi. He's a guy who hit 319, 396, 562 with 15 homers and 44 steals this year for Louisville as a junior. It sounds like he can stick in center. He's got plenty of speed to burn there. And I think ESPN.com's Keith Law called him the top overall prospect in this draft. I know MLB Pipeline disagrees. They have Groom at the top spot there, Jason Groom, the left-hander pitching prospect out of New Jersey, the high school pitching prospect. But Corey Ray sounds like a very, very interesting piece because he's just a guy who he has a little bit of pop. He has plenty of speed. You know how much organizations love guys up the middle with that kind of tool set. And staying in that same kind of level, Kyle Lewis is just a guy who tore the cover off the ball this year at Mercer. Built up. He went undrafted out of Georgia high school, and has built up his stock so much that he could be a top 5 pick this year around. Baseball America named him their college player of the year. He hit 395 with a 535 on base percentage, a 731 slugging percentage, with 20 homers, 72 RBIs, and 66 walks versus only 48 strikeouts in 61 games for Mercer. Obviously not a big top program, so he's not going up against, big top pitching like a Puck, something like that. But, you hit where you're at, and he certainly did a lot of that. And I know scouts really, really like him. So we'll have to see how organizations view him as well. I think those 3 guys are maybe my most exciting. But just to go back to Groom, I'm also going to be keeping an eye on where he goes as opposed to Riley Pint, who Groom is a left-hander, Pint is a right-hander. Groom is a left-hander, Pint is a right-hander. So they're 2 guys coming at it from different sides of the mound. Obviously, the left-handers have a little bit more value. They're a little bit tougher to find. So I think Groom, might go a little higher. He's certainly been talked about more. I think he's Pipeline's top overall draft prospect, but Pint comes in at number 2. He's got a really good 4-pitch mix. The rumor right now is that Groom is whispering that he might go to junior college, foregoing a commitment to Vanderbilt if he doesn't get the bonus he's looking for. But that could just be pre-draft, shenanigans. It could just be, if I don't get what I'm looking for, I'll leave. You're just planting the seeds. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. Will Groom scare enough teams away, or will somebody, bite the bullet and try to negotiate with him by taking him high? We'll see how all that works out. But there are tons of storylines to look forward to this draft. If you're listening to this on Thursday, go to our site. I've got a full draft preview up right now with some of those names, with some of those storylines. And if you're looking at it on Friday, I recommend Pipeline, Baseball America, all that. Check out some of these scouting reports on these teams these guys that your teams did draft.
I agree with all that. I mean, I think it's really interesting in the Major League draft how, as Sam kind of noted, you can't just draft based on need. This isn't, something where you go out and you pick, okay, we need a shortstop, let's go get a shortstop. That's not how it works in baseball. But what I do find interesting is if you are a team that is projecting a need a few years down the road for an outfielder, this is the type of draft to be toward the top of the board in, because 4 of MLB Pipeline's top 8 prospects are outfielders. You heard Sam talk a little bit about Kyle Lewis and about Corey Ray, but also keep an eye on a couple of young guys, Mickey Moniak, who is an outfielder out of La Costa Canyon High School in California, and Blake Rutherford, who is out of Chaminade College Prep in California as well. Those guys are the number 5 and number 8 overall talents, as according to MLB Pipeline. So keep an eye on those two. But what fascinates me most is, like Sam was kind of discussing, Jason Groom and Riley Pint are the top 2 talents in the draft. That's according to MLB Pipeline. But they are also projected to go 6th and 8th overall, according to Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline. So that kind of shows you how different it is. It isn't just go out and get the top talent. It all has to fit into the plan. So keep an eye on those 2 guys. And also, by the way, if you are wondering, Riley Pint, for any of you who have read The Arm by Jeff Passan, Riley Pint, that is the Riley Pint that you read about in that book. So he obviously stayed healthy. I don't want to spoil that for you if you're early in the book, but it's kind of crazy to read about a guy and what it's like, you know, the showcase circuit, weighing to be a part of the showcase circuit or not, coming up through high school, trying to keep yourself healthy, playing other sports, all that kind of stuff, and then realize, yeah, it works to not go out and throw a billion innings a year. You can still be the 2nd-ranked overall talent going into the MLB draft. So Riley Pint, who is, by the way, committed to play at LSU, keep an eye on him. He's the number 2-ranked overall talent headed into this season's draft. So that does it for 3 Strikes on this week, the 62nd episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Before we step aside for a brief timeout, you can head to iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription there. You can contact the show, podcast@milb.com. with your questions, thoughts, comments, whatever you've got, especially coming out of the draft. You want us to give an idea of where somebody who your team gets may fit in down the road. Send us a note. You can tweet at us as well. I am at Tyler Mon. Sam is at Sam Dykstra, MILB, and Minor League Baseball is at MILB as well. And that wraps up the first segment of this week's show. Coming up here in just a moment, the 3rd prospect in the overall rankings of the San Francisco Giants organization, Phil Bickford, pitcher who has been through that draft process a lot, twice, which is way more than anybody wants to go through it. Sometimes it seems like, but really interesting experiences for Phil Bickford, really interesting stuff coming up. We'll have a conversation with Phil after a brief timeout here on episode number 62 of the Show Before the Show.
Watch the Stars of Tomorrow today on MILB TV. Before they made it to the show, stars like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, and Chris Bryant were on MILB TV. Subscribe today to get more than 5,000 minor league games streamed live and on demand, including games from affiliates of all 30 major league clubs. Select All-Star and postseason games are also included. On the go? Watch on your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch with the free MILB First Pitch app. Visit MILB.tv for details.
It is nearly Major League draft time. The first-year player draft starting Thursday in Secaucus, New Jersey. And joining us for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, a guy who knows a whole lot about the Major League draft experience, and that is Phil Bickford, the 3rd-ranked prospect in the San Francisco Giants system, who is hanging out today with the Class A Augusta Green Jackets in the South Atlantic League. Phil, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Great, man. It's good to talk to you. This has been a really good start to the season for you already in Augusta. 10 starts in, 2.89 ERA, a really good start on a team that has a lot of young talent. What has it been like getting into full season ball for the first time in your professional career, joining the Giants last year out of the draft?
It was very exciting to start the first full season, and just going into it was a lot of fun and a lot of cool guys in the organization and on the Augusta Green Jackets, and we're just trying our best to play good ball.
And in this first full season for you, Phil, what has been your kind of main area of focus going into pitching a full season like this, adding so many innings onto your arm like that? What has been your focus so far in 2016?
Just as always, getting in a routine and sticking to your routine, and on the mound, just continue to develop the secondary pitches, and as always, just throw a lot of strikes and try to help your team win the game.
Yeah, and kind of going back to last year, as Tyler mentioned, you were taken in the first round last year by the Giants. If you could kind of describe for us what your draft experience was. I know you went through it one time with the Blue Jays, but what was it like last year going through it a second time and getting taken again in the first round?
It was an unbelievable feeling, not only for myself, but for the family as well. And that's who I was with while I was watching it. And it was just, it's hard to describe. It's like just an instant feeling of just happiness, everything that you've strived for and have gone through with your family and friends, and just seeing it all come together through the draft is an amazing feeling. And just like the little cherry was that it was by the Giants, which is a fantastic organization. And you always hear about how special of an organization they are, but once you're in the system, you really get to see it firsthand, just how from top to bottom, it's just a fantastic bunch of people, and it just all really is a blessing.
Phil, back in 2013, coming out of high school, Oaks Christian High School in Westlake, California, you were taken with the 10th overall pick by the Blue Jays and decided to keep your commitment to Cal State Fullerton, go there, play for a year, and then a really, really successful stint in the Cape Cod League, and then a transfer for your second year of school to the College of Southern Nevada. But kind of walk us through the process of that first draft experience for you, because coming out of high school, a commitment to a college powerhouse, and getting drafted by the Blue Jays, just walk us through what that was like in the decision to not sign with the Blue Jays and keep that college commitment.
Out of high school, me and my agent were excited going into the draft, and the Blue Jays ended up picking us. And then when the negotiations started, it all just didn't work out. And then so we made a commitment to go to Cal State Fullerton, which is a unbelievable program, and it was a great experience there. And then after the Cape Cod experience, is this just about the draft or like the whole process?
No, yeah, go through the whole process, because I mean, you stopped at so many good baseball places. I mean, Fullerton's a powerhouse. The Cape Cod League, you're named the outstanding pro prospect, and then College of Southern Nevada. Obviously, people are probably familiar. That was Bryce Harper's school. He gets his GED, goes to school early in college there, and that kind of, I don't want to say put that program on the map because it was already there, but you got a chance to stop in so many good places on the road to the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess it was a blessing in disguise just how many areas there were leading up to this, just playing good ball in a lot of places. And back to what I was saying originally was the negotiations with the Blue Jays just didn't work out. So that was off of the table, and we decided to go to Cal State Fullerton, which was a great first year. And after the Cape, obviously it was a tough decision leaving Cal State Fullerton. All respect to Cal State Fullerton, but there was just a good amount of people telling me to go to JC and go up for last year's draft. And that was the decision that was made, and everything ended up working out. So.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. But just to go back to the Blue Jays real fast, how close did you get to ever signing with them? I know you said in negotiations it didn't work out, and as Tyler mentioned, you had a nice commitment to Fullerton there. But was there ever a point where it was a ticking clock and you were almost there, or were you guys just always so far apart that it looked like you were going to always go to Fullerton?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you kind of got like a weird feeling as soon as you got picked by them, and all respect to their organization, but I'm kind of you could kind of tell now when they haven't signed 4 out of the 5 past first rounders. I mean, it was a interesting process. It wasn't ever really close, to be honest.
Phil Bickford is our guest, who is a number 3 prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization. And this is a really cool time of year for anybody who's a baseball nerd, because regionals are over. Super regionals start this week. College World Series trips are going to be cemented here really soon. And Phil, for a guy like you, who this time last year was going through this process, if you could talk to, some of the guys who were, I mean, obviously when you were at Fullerton, you guys made it to a regional final, but the guys who are going into super regionals right now, or even for guys who are coming out of high school right now, if you could go back a year or 3 years and talk to yourself or talk to those guys who are dealing with it now, what would you say? What's a piece of advice you would give for the guys who are going through that draft process and how stressful it is?
Just going through the draft process is, you just gotta just be as positive as you can be, and trust whoever you're with who's advising you, or if you're not being advised, just trust what's going on. And even if it doesn't feel like it's going your way, I mean, my best advice is just to stay positive, and just stay positive. That's best thing I can say.
All right, Phil, we'll leave you with this one. We talked a lot about the draft here today, but want to talk a little bit about you and your own stuff. Reading about your fastball, especially, everybody likes to talk about that. You can hit the upper 90s at times. I think it's been given a 65 grade on the 2080 scale. But looking at the way you've performed so far and what you have up ahead with the second half of the season coming up, what is your focus right now, stuff-wise? What pitches are you kind of working on, and what are you looking to improve here in the second half?
I'm just trying to keep the fastball command, keep on throwing the changeup more in the game, and keep on throwing the slider more in the game. And like I was saying, just to stay in the routine and get a little bit better every time I show up to the field, and every time I show up on the mound, and every bullpen. Just about getting a little bit better every day, and for the greater picture of what's going on. So, yeah.
Well, if you're a Giants fan, there's a whole hell of a lot to be excited for with Phil Bickford, who is right now with the Class A Augusta Green Jackets so far this season. Some really, really impressive stuff from Phil, who is also, by the way, named a South Atlantic League South Division All-Star, so he'll lead that pitching staff. Congratulations, Phil, on that. And thanks a ton for giving us a few minutes, and congrats to the start to your first full pro season, and we'll be watching the rest of the way, man. Best of luck.
Hey, I appreciate it a lot. You have a great rest of your day. It was nice talking to you.
Just want to jump in here real quick before we head over to talk with Benjamin Hill, our good pal who's on Twitter at Ben's Biz Banter, coming up shortly. There was a note made in our conversation with Phil Bickford. Phil had noted, he said that the Toronto Blue Jays had not signed 4 out of their last 5 first-round picks. We did some checking on that. There are a handful of first-round picks that the Blue Jays have not signed in recent seasons, including Phil Bickford. The other couple, Tyler Beatty, they did not sign, and James Paxton, they did not sign. It was a first-round supplemental pick back in 2009. But those are over a host of first-round picks in recent seasons, so not quite exactly the same, right, Sam?
Yeah, not so much. We don't want to just let that slip. And it was an interesting thing for him to say. It was the first time I think at least anything I've read or heard from him about why he didn't sign. So it didn't sound like it was a very positive negotiation between those two sides. But we don't want to just let that sit there as if the Blue Jays are not great negotiators with their first-round picks. Obviously, they've done pretty well in the last couple of years signing those guys. John Harris last year, Jeff Hoffman the year before that, and Max Pentecost, all in succession after that Phil Bickford first-round pick. So we just want to hop in here real fast, and we'll get you back to Ben now.
the season got started, or was it a little bit after the season, Ben and I did an entire show based on minor league jingles, and we were going to lead into the Ben's Biz Banter segment of the show before the show week to week with jingles, and we hadn't done it for the last few weeks. So we welcome you into this week's edition with some good synergy. The Frederick Keys and Shake Your Keys, one of my favorite minor league jingles because it refers to Harry Grove Memorial Stadium, not the name of the ballpark, and also talks about hitting one into the bleachers, and there are no bleachers in the outfield at Harry Grove Stadium. So I love those minor league jingles. Ben, welcome back. What's going on?
Hey Tyler, yeah, thanks for ruining that song for everyone. I mean, we just want to enjoy it. We don't listen to jingles for in-depth analysis of the lyrics, but I love it. Hey, yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be welcome back. I'm glad to be back. I'm gonna drink a little Red Bull because I'm very low energy today, but I'm gonna bring it.
That was that was some really good Nat sound as they teach us in broadcasting class. That was like the perfect pop of the can back there.
Yeah, man, I could be a Foley artist in another life.
Well, let's start in Frederick. Ben's promo preview and promo watch, rather, in 2016 is up on the site right now. And the Frederick Keys had a really cool promo this past week, the Class A advanced affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles, in which broadcasters Jeff Arnold and Doug Raftery did something really cool. Ben, take it away.
Yeah, the Keys had a family fitness night, or family fitness weekend, with a whole variety of family fitness or just fitness endeavors, and it's minor league baseball, so it's family fitness because people like to go see minor league games with their families. But anyway, on Sunday's game, the broadcasting duo of Jeff Arnold and Doug Raftery, they broadcast the entire game while on the concourse pedaling exercise bikes. So that is I actually wrote a few years back about Sean Houston calling a game on a treadmill when he was with the Charleston River Dogs. So this has some kind of precedent, but not a head-to-head exercise bike battle while also calling the game. I talked to Jeff and Doug on Monday, the day after it all went down, and got a recap. They were actually competing against one another throughout the game, with how many miles they could pedal. The game only went 5 innings before it was rained out. And Doug Raftery, who seems to be in much better shape than Jeff Arnold, actually lost to Jeff. But when I talked to Doug, he said, and this is the kind of thing, you hear about a goofy promo like two broadcasters pedaling on the concourse and they're raising money for charity. They had GoFundMe pages. So you hear something like that and you're like, oh, cool, quirky. I like to be the guy that follows up on this stuff because it's always interesting to me, not just something being an interesting tweet or like a viral image of a jersey or something, but to say like, how did this really go down and how did it happen? So they were competing throughout the game. It only went 5 innings. Dealing with all sorts of hassles like fans talking to them and the wind blowing, their game notes and scorecards off of music stands that were set up in front of them. So just kind of a comical environment. Anyway, the broadcaster who lost, Doug, who's in better shape, did 3 innings of play-by-play, while Jeff only did 2, who won. And I think that was the difference because the point was made that when you're doing play-by-play, you can't just pedal really hard. You have to conserve your breath and conserve your energy. But when you're doing color, you can just like really go for it. And if you don't think it's something to say, like so be it. Just let the play-by-play guy keep going. So if you're ever a minor league baseball broadcaster taking place in an exercise bike challenge on the concourse, try to do more innings of color than play-by-play as a strategy in which to defeat your opponent.
Our strategies, our suggestions are specific, but they are accurate. If you ever find yourself in that situation, that is a good one. If you find yourself in that situation, probably rare, but that's a good one.
Yeah, rare but not unprecedented. And Tyler, you were a minor league broadcaster. Would you ever consider undertaking an endeavor such as this?
I would, and I would definitely be the one who is both in worse shape and also loses. I have no trouble admitting to that. Even if I did fewer innings of play-by-play, I'd still lose.
Well, if there's one thing you got going for yourself, Tyler, it's self-confidence.
Thank you, buddy. I feel like it fits well in our, especially in these segments. We're very good at the self-deprecation, and in my case, very accurately, in that I would both lose and be in worse shape.
All right, well, you heard it from the source.
Yeah. When you were talking to Doug and Jeff, was there any idea of how easy it was to talk while going through this, or did they just outright stop while they were doing play-by-play?
I don't think they ever stop, but I think when you're doing play-by-play, you're doing a real gentle pedal, just lightly moving. Commercial breaks when you had the opportunity, but then you also have to be doing a lot of prep and being in touch with whoever's in the studio. They had a lot of number of bathroom breaks. So there's a lot of variables. And they told me one of the reasons they set up on the third base side of the concourse is because the EMTs are stationed there, and if one of them collapsed, they'd get help quicker. So a cool idea. They both had GoFundMe pages, and then the sponsor of the event, a gym in the Frederick area, matched the donation. So they were able to raise almost $2,200 for the local Boys and Girls Club. So,
That is really cool.
It is a cool thing. It's easy to give lip service, like, oh, good cause. But when you can think of such a goofy idea, like let's call a game on exercise bikes, but walk away with $2,200+ donated to a local charity, I mean, it's really a win-win. And I think other teams should. That's a very specific and ridiculous thing, but other teams should consider things of this nature. Bring some attention to the broadcasters, raise money for a good cause, vary up the routines, and why not?
Ben, there's a ton going on around the world of minor league baseball, both past and future, this week. The Rickwood Classic, a whole bunch of games that we had heard about in terms of promotions that were coming up. The Columbia Fireflies will honor Prince in their Purple Game. The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs are finally going to be suiting up as the Cheesesteaks. The tally is in from the Wit and Wit Out vote for that. What could have been night in El Paso, the Chihuahuas will be the Desert Gators. Give us a preview of some of these.
Yeah, I mean, basically Thursday through Saturday, the 9th, 10th, and 11th, is a huge conglomeration of promotions that went viral when they were announced, whether that was recently or during the offseason. So I think it's an interesting weekend to kind of pay attention to, maybe get some recaps of these events. I know I'll be trying to, because it's easy for something to go viral because it's a good image or something interesting. But here, it's all happening now. As you said, the Fireflies wearing Prince jerseys on Thursday, Lehigh Valley cheesesteaks, Wit onions on their hats on Saturday.
Was there any doubt, by the way, that it was going to be Wit?
I don't think there really should have
been.
But that was a good marketing.
It was good.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that if Wit Out would have won, I would have felt very bad about. Well, I mean, I feel bad about our society a lot of times anyway. But if Wit Out wins in that circumstance, what kind of world are we creating for our children?
I agree, and
endless future.
Right, and as three men without children speaking, this is a very pressing issue. And then the Lazy River opens on June 11th on Saturday in Frisco in the outfield of Dr. Pepper Ballpark. That's one of the biggest stories of the offseason when that was first announced. So they've made that a reality in really a very short amount of time. I think they started construction not much more than 3 months ago, and now they have this massive Lazy River in the outfield ready to go this weekend, and that's coinciding, I suppose coincidentally, with the Rough Riders Vulcan Salute to Star Trek night, where they'll be wearing Star Trek jerseys, and after a fan vote, they will be Spock themed. So pretty big night at the ballpark when you're doing a Vulcan Salute to Star Trek, wearing Spock jerseys, and debuting a massive, unprecedented, first of its kind Lazy River in the outfield. So, Frisco, they're doing things right this year.
And which of these do you think has like the biggest chance for success this weekend, just the way it's set up? Is it the Deflategate stuff? Is it, the Desert Gators or the cheesesteaks? Which of these do you think has the best chance to actually follow through on what was a promising start?
I think they'll all be successful. In terms of the in-game experience, I don't think we've mentioned the Deflategate stuff, but there's the Pawtucket free Tom Brady night on Friday, followed by the Buffalo Bison's suspend Tom Brady. I think that's a textbook case of a promo that gets a ton of viral attention, but if you go to either of those games, I think the effect it has on your actual in-game experience is negligible. It's just one to get attention just from the outside world. Because what are you going to do? Be named Tom and get in free? That's not going to affect the average fan's experience. In terms of making an impact, it's some of these are one-time events. Frisco Lazy River is going to make the biggest impact because that's a permanent feature of the ballpark from here on out. But Lehigh Valley wearing the cheesesteaks, El Paso going with a what could have been alternate reality of Desert Gators, Prince or Columbia Fireflies with the Prince night jerseys. All those are going to be standout promotion nights because they have that visual elements, and all three are teams that are good with the details to surround those visual elements.
Ben, one of the next promos we'll discuss, the Johnson City Cardinals, a rookie-level team in the Appy League, and you'll be visiting the Appy League soon. On July 9th, they've announced that they're going to suit up as the Johnson City Wagon Wheels, which is a reference to a song that I thought, being somebody who lives, close to the city of Boulder, I thought was played here more than any other place on the planet. But the song Wagon Wheel, which was originally released by Old Crow Medicine Show and has been covered a lot of times since then, I didn't realize that any other city was just oddly obsessed with that song. But apparently there's a reference to Johnson City, Tennessee in that song, so the Cardinals are going to honor that song.
Yeah, July 9th, wearing a jersey with a wagon wheel on it in honor of the song Wagon Wheel. So there you go. It's a very literal reference. But it's really cool.
We talked about this last year. I think kind of rare for Happy League teams to do the whole New Jersey thing. Not New Jersey, the state, but the whole, a special Jersey thing.
I get you. I mean, it's a small league, low operating budgets, often full-time front office staff between like 1 and 3 people usually. So there often aren't the resources that are there. So cool to see teams, taking that opportunity and using what resources they have to have 1 or 2 kind of more blowout promotional nights and putting Appy League on the map in a greater context and getting more attention to the cause. So Johnson City is mentioned in the song Wagon Wheel. The press release had this explanation that it's an incorrect reference and that the song says something to the effect of like headed east to Johnson City from such and such a place. But in reality, if you were headed to Johnson City from that place, you'd be going west or something like that. So if you ever listen to Wagon Wheel, I'll look it up later. But the geographical reference to Johnson City is inaccurate in terms of the direction that the narrator of the song is traveling. So
that brings us very full circle because I called out the whole Frederick Keyes incorrect lyrics thing, so I'm glad we could also call out Old Crow Medicine Show in this.
Yeah, finally. Our 2 biggest enemies, Frederick Keyes.
Frederick Keyes and Old Crow Medicine Show getting their comeuppance today.
Well, there's this last one I wanted to get to, Ben, while you're here. You wrote up last week for your On the Road piece. You went down to Zebulon. And you talked to the designer of the Carolina Mudcats logo, and it's got its own kind of cool history and cool story. What's behind that kind of fish story?
Yeah, that was an interesting story for me to write. The Mudcats in Zebulon, North Carolina, were the last stop of my last road trip, North and South Carolina last month. And when I was there, I talked to the GM, Joe Kramer, who's been the GM there for the entirety of the franchise's existence, and got the lowdown on the logo. And the point I'm kind of trying to make in the story is that in today's minor league landscape with, the Rubber Ducks and Chihuahuas and Iron Pigs and Blue Wahoos and all those kind of teams that you don't even bat an eye at the name Mudcats. But in 1989, when that team name was adopted, it was like, whoa, this is weird and strange. And it was polarizing, and it kind of was a early predecessor to the landscape we have today. And that logo, for those who are old enough to remember 25, 27 years ago, became very popular. It was featured in some capacity in an Atlanta Journal-Constitution article, got some press through that, and it kind of snowballed, and it became a national phenomenon. And the team was selling these Mudcats hats to places all over the country, in a pre-internet world, placing ads in Baseball America and Baseball Weekly and stuff like that, and articles in the national media about what a phenomenon the logo had become. So it's easy to kind of forget that in year 2016, with Mudcats being a fairly conservative operation and a fairly conservative name in today's context, but really broke some ground when they first came out, and in an improbable way. And as I detail in the story, the artist who designed the logo, Frank Harrod, was described by the GM as a good old hippie artist who now lives off the grid. He designed it in the course of one afternoon, faxing the logo back and forth between the owner and team executives, and got paid $500. And they went on to surpass $1 million in sales in a couple of years.
I think that's so cool. I remember actually when I was a kid, one of my friends just saw that logo in a newspaper, loved it, ordered a hat. We were in like first grade, like would have been the early 90s. And I remember that being kind of one of the first things that I learned about minor league baseball was like, oh, look at this crazy logo with this fish coming through with its whiskers and everything. And it's neat too because also Frank Harrod, however you say his last name, he painted billboards for Capital Outdoor, and the owner of Capital Outdoor owned and still owns the now Carolina Mudcats back when this team was located elsewhere. But so just a really cool, you look at the industry that has come out over the last 10, 15 years or so of minor league rebranding, and this was just, I know a guy, let's pick out this name, let's do a logo, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was a fun story to write. The only thing that's not fun about it is how convoluted minor league baseball is when I have to explain that Steve Bryant still owns the Mudcats today,
right.
Except that when he bought them, they relocated from Columbus to Zebulon, and then in 2011, the AA franchise then relocated to Pensacola, and then he sold that team, bought the Kinston Indians, and brought them to Carolina Mudcats, where they basically kept operations, but now is a different franchise in a different league, but still technically the same team. How do you kind of get that information out there in an article that's not about that, but trying to be factually accurate? Those are the sort of problems I live with, and somehow I persevere. That
all makes sense to the average person. That all makes sense. AA franchise moves, you buy another one, move it in, same team, same front office, not at all the same organization. It makes perfect sense. Benjamin Hill is on Twitter. You can find him there. He's at Ben's Biz. Check out the blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com. And the next road trip is coming up soon, correct? Appy League is up in 2 weeks.
Happy League, June 25th to July 4th, 10 teams in 10 days. I'll hit the whole circuit and certainly be writing about those experiences probably from the time I get back all the way until I leave on the next trip in the first half of August. And in the meantime, I'm still blogging about my last trip. So as I'm always saying, I'm operating the past and the present and the future. I span all facets of time to bring you the best minor league baseball coverage that has ever existed in any sphere of reality.
Multi-dimensional Ben. Follow him on Twitter. You can also follow him for really good road trip stuff on Instagram and on Vine as well. You can't get your groundbreaking subversive ballpark jokes of the day anywhere else, so go do that. Ben, we'll do it again next week.
Hey, thanks, guys.
62nd edition of the Show Before the Show podcast is coming to a close. Huge thanks to Phil Bickford of the San Francisco Giants organization. You can catch Phil this season with the South Atlantic League's Augusta Green Jackets, and if you are so lucky as to be attending the 2016 Sally League All-Star Game, that's coming up in Lexington. You'll see Phil there as well. MILB.TV is your home for all the best talent in minor league baseball, and this week, a lot of good stuff coming up. As always, Sam, who you got?
Yeah, so we mentioned before the Southern League All-Star Game, so I immediately looked up who Mississippi is playing this weekend because, anytime you get to see Dansby Swanson check in on his progress, that's always a good decision. And they are playing the Jackson Generals this weekend in Mississippi. And the one game I would recommend of the ones they're playing this weekend, on Sunday, Chris Ellis is slated to get the ball. He's the number 13 Braves prospect, came over in the Andrelton Simmons trade along with Sean Newcomb. He's 7-2 with a 2.85 ERA. He also, I think just yesterday, came off a start in which he only gave up one hit over 6 2/3 innings. So definitely a guy looking strong at that AA level. I know he pitched a lot last year at AA Arkansas in the Angels system, so he must be in consideration for a bump to AAA at some point soon. But seeing him go up against Jackson Generals lineup that has both DJ Peterson and Tyler O'Neill, who we know can thump with the best of them in the minors, should make for an interesting game. And again, Dansby Swanson's there. And check out Willians Ostudio, who is one of my favorite minor leaguers in that the guy never strikes out. He has the lowest strikeout rate in all of the minors. I think it's 3.3%. So, that should make for a fun game. What about for you, Tyler?
Yeah, well, this is a guy that I want to tease every week just because he's that good, and I think we both separately have huge man crushes on him. But Lucas Giolito, right behind him, Julio Urias has graduated to the big leagues. The two guys behind him in the MLB.com top 100 prospect rankings are AAA, J.P. Crawford and Orlando Arcia. Obviously, Jameson Taillon we talked about. He's graduated to the big leagues. Coming back, Alex Reyes is at AAA. He could be there soon. Tyler Glasnow. So there are all these guys who are at that graduation level. Feels like maybe Lucas Giolito is getting close to being at that from AA to AAA. Giolito doesn't often line up that he'll be prime time on a matchup that you can watch after we record one of our episodes over a weekend. But Friday night, he'll take the mound at home for Harrisburg against Akron. So you can tune in to catch Giolito there. One other thing that I'm keeping an eye on in that same league, one of the Rockies' top prospects, Antonio Senzatella, missed almost a month and a half with some shoulder soreness, as I understood it. And he has returned to been really, really good for AA Hartford. So you can catch him. He'll be pitching on Thursday night if you catch this on the first day that we release it on the road at Harrisburg. So a couple of Senators games back to back, but some good pitching stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And like we do every week, that stuff is always available on MILB.TV, and people can scroll around, find some stuff of their own. And if there's some team you don't think we've highlighted in this little segment, again, just tweet at us, send us an email at podcast@MILB.com, and we'll try to get to them next week.
And get your subscription now because short season ball starts in just a couple of weeks, and there are some short season teams on MILB TV as well that you can check out. So it's even more baseball for you to watch in a live capacity coming up here very soon. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Again, you can get in touch with us, podcast@MILB.com. And Sam's on Twitter. He's at Sam Dykes or MILB. I am at Tyler Mon. Enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the draft. We'll talk to you after all of it's over. And for Sam Dykstra, I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.